Hey everyone, welcome back to the Easy English Room podcast. I'm Henry, and as always, I'm here with Emma. We're really happy you've joined us today. It truly means a lot to have you listening, whether you're relaxing at home, commuting, or practicing your English. Before we dive in, we just want to say thank you for being part of this journey with us. Every episode, we try to create something useful, something you can learn from and also enjoy at the same time. So today's topic is something very relatable, something almost everyone has experienced at some point in their life, and we're excited to explore it together with you in a deeper and more meaningful way.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It's really great to have you here with us again, and I hope you're feeling comfortable and ready to listen and learn. Let me start by asking you something simple but important. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt a lot of pressure, maybe during an exam, a conversation, or an important moment, and suddenly your mind just went completely blank? It's like everything you knew just disappeared in a second. You try to remember, you try to think, but nothing comes out. It can feel confusing, frustrating, and even a little scary. And the interesting thing is this happens even when we are well prepared.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so surprising. You might spend hours or even days preparing for something, like studying for an exam or practicing what you're going to say. You feel confident, you feel ready, and everything seems clear in your mind. But then the moment arrives, the test paper is in front of you or someone asks you a question, and suddenly it feels like your brain just stops working. Even the things you knew very well become hard to remember. It's not that you didn't learn them, it's just that something is blocking you in that moment, and that can be really frustrating.
Yes, and this doesn't only happen in exams. It can happen in social situations too. For example, imagine you're talking to someone important, maybe a teacher, a manager, or even someone you admire, and you really want to make a good impression. You want to sound confident and smart, but suddenly you can't think of anything to say. Your mind feels empty and you start to feel nervous. It's a very common experience, and honestly, it can make people doubt themselves, even if they are actually capable and well prepared.
And the truth is, we've all experienced this feeling at some point in our lives. It's a shared human experience, and it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. In fact, this is exactly why we're excited about today's episode. We're going to explore why this happens, what it means, and more importantly, how you can deal with it in a better way so that it doesn't stop you from doing your best.
That's right. And if you've been following our recent episodes, you might remember that we've been focusing a lot on listening as a powerful way to improve your English. Today, we're going to continue with that idea, but in a more practical and engaging way. We'll share a story, discuss some ideas, and help you not only understand the language, but also connect with the message behind it.
Exactly. So today, Emma and I will guide you through a story and some deeper ideas about staying calm under pressure. And later in the episode, Laura will join us to explain important vocabulary and phrases in detail, so you can really understand them and start using them confidently in your own conversations. So let's begin with a story. Once upon a time, there was a young bird that was learning how to fly. Every single day, it practiced again and again. It would flap its wings, jump from one branch to another, and slowly build its strength and confidence. At the beginning, it wasn't easy. The bird felt unsure and a little afraid, but it kept trying. Day after day, through repetition and effort, it started to improve. Its movements became more controlled, and it began to feel more comfortable with the idea of flying.
Yes, and over time, the bird became much better. It kept repeating the same actions, practicing consistently, and slowly gaining confidence in its abilities. Eventually, there came a moment when the bird felt ready. It believed that it had practiced enough and that it could finally try a real flight. This was a big step, an important moment, and also a very exciting one.
So one morning, the bird climbed higher than ever before. It stood on a branch that was much higher than the ones it had used during practice. It paused for a moment, looked around, and took a deep breath. Then, with a mix of excitement and fear, it jumped into the air, ready to fly for real.
But then something unexpected happened. As soon as it was in the air, the bird was suddenly overwhelmed by fear. It panicked, And in that moment of panic, it forgot everything it had practiced. It forgot how to flap its wings properly, it lost control, and instead of flying, it started falling quickly towards the ground.
It was a frightening moment. The bird was dropping fast, and it seemed like it had completely lost control of the situation. But just before it hit the ground, something changed. In that critical moment, it suddenly remembered what to do. It flapped its wings again, regained control, and managed to fly back up to safety.
After that, the bird felt confused. It didn't understand what had happened. It had practiced so many times, so why did it forget such a basic skill at such an important moment? And honestly, this story reflects something very real in our lives as humans. We prepare, we practice, we repeat things many times, but when the moment of pressure comes, we sometimes freeze.
This experience actually has a name. It's called choking under pressure. It's when someone cannot perform as expected because they feel too much stress or pressure in an important moment.
You might have heard the saying, pressure makes diamonds. It suggests that challenges and difficult situations can help us grow stronger and better. And while that can be true, there's also another side to it. Too much pressure can have the opposite effect. Instead of helping us perform better, it can make things harder and block our abilities.
Exactly. Many people believe that if we prepare enough, we will always succeed. But real life is more complicated than that. Even if we practice a lot, stress can still affect our performance. A student might study very hard but forget answers during an exam. An athlete might train every day but miss an important shot during a big game.
And sometimes people think this happens because they're not good enough, but that's not usually the real reason. In many cases, it happens because we care too much. We want to do well so badly that we start overthinking everything. Instead of focusing on the task, we focus on the result, and that creates pressure.
Yes, and when that happens, our thoughts start to work against us. We begin thinking things like, what if I fail? Or everyone is watching me. These thoughts create anxiety, and that anxiety makes it harder to focus. Instead of trusting our abilities, we start doubting ourselves.
So the question is, how can we deal with this? One important step is to accept that feeling nervous is completely normal. It doesn't mean you're weak, it means you care. Being kind to yourself is also very important. Nobody's perfect, and making mistakes is part of learning and growing.
Another helpful idea is to focus on your own journey instead of comparing yourself to others. Society often tells us we need to be the best, but that creates unnecessary pressure. Instead, set your own goals and appreciate your progress. When you focus on improvement rather than perfection, you reduce stress and enjoy the process more.
We can also learn from real-life examples. There was an athlete named Dan O'Brien who was expected to win a gold medal, but during an important competition, he failed because he was overthinking and feeling too much pressure. Later, he said he got stuck in his own head.
But the important part is that he didn't give up. He learned from that experience, worked on managing his stress, and came back stronger. A few years later, he stayed calm, trusted himself, and won the gold medal. That shows that failure under pressure is not the end. It can be a step towards success.
There are also practical things we can do. Talking to others about how we feel can help reduce pressure. Practicing in different environments can also make us more confident. For example, if you practice speaking English in slightly stressful situations, real conversations will feel easier over time.
It also helps to focus on the present moment instead of worrying about the future. When you stay present, you can think more clearly and perform better. Your inner voice matters too. Try to make it supportive instead of negative. Remind yourself that you are prepared and capable.
And simple techniques like taking deep breaths or visualizing success can make a big difference. These small actions help calm your body and focus your mind, especially in stressful situations.
So remember the young bird. It was afraid, it made a mistake, but it didn't give up. In the end, it learned how to fly.
And you can do the same. The next time you feel pressure, take a deep breath, trust yourself, and remember that it's okay to feel nervous. What matters is how you respond.
With time, practice, and the right mindset, you can overcome it and perform at your best when it really matters. All right, and now that we've explored the story and some key ideas about handling pressure, it's time to take things a step further. We're going to focus on the language itself and help you understand some of the most useful words and phrases we use today. And for that, we have someone very special joining us. She's here to break everything down in a clear and simple way so you can start using these expressions with confidence.
Yes, exactly. We're really excited about this part because it's where everything becomes even more practical for you. So if you've been listening carefully, now is your chance to really connect the meaning with the language. And of course, we couldn't do this without our amazing language expert. Laura always does a great job explaining things in a way that's easy to understand and remember.
That's right, so let's bring her in. Laura, welcome back. We're really happy to have you with us.
Hi, Henry. Hi, Emma. Thank you so much. It's really great to be back with you both. And of course, a big hello to everyone listening. If you've been following the conversation so far, you've already done a great job. Now let's take some time to go through the most important vocabulary and phrases from today's episode. These expressions will help you understand the story more clearly and also use similar ideas in your own English conversations. Let's start with a simple one. Flapping its wings. Flapping its wings means moving the wings up and down in order to fly. Example, the young bird kept flapping its wings every day to build strength and confidence. Next, we have take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, which means to breathe in slowly and deeply to help yourself relax or calm down. Example, before starting the interview, she took a deep breath to feel more relaxed. Now, gripped by fear. Gripped by fear describes a moment when someone suddenly feels very strong fear and loses control for a short time. Example, he was gripped by fear when he had to speak in front of a large audience. A very important phrase from today is choking under pressure. This means failing to perform well because you feel too much stress or anxiety. Example, even though he practiced a lot, he choked under pressure during the competition. We also heard the expression, pressure makes diamonds. This is a saying that suggests difficult situations and challenges can help us grow and become stronger. Example, she reminded herself that pressure makes diamonds before her big presentation. Next, overthinking. Overthinking means thinking too much about something, especially in a way that creates stress or confusion. Example, he started overthinking during the exam and forgot simple answers. Another useful phrase is doubt yourself, which means to feel unsure about your abilities or skills. Example, when she felt nervous, she began to doubt herself. We also mentioned getting stuck in your head. This means thinking too much instead of acting naturally, which can stop you from performing well. Example, he got stuck in his head and couldn't answer the question clearly. The word freeze means to suddenly stop or become unable to act because of fear or stress. Example, she froze when the teacher asked her a difficult question. Nervous is a very common word that means feeling anxious or worried, especially before an important moment. Example, he felt nervous before speaking in front of his team. Now, an important idea from the episode is focus on the present moment. This means paying attention to what you are doing right now instead of worrying about the future. Example, she focused on the present moment and spoke more confidently. We also heard tension rising, which describes a situation where stress or pressure is increasing. Example, he could feel the tension rising as the exam began. Taking a few deep breaths is a simple technique to calm your body and mind. Example, she took a few deep breaths before answering the question. Another helpful phrase is visualize success, which means to imagine yourself doing something well before it happens. Example, he visualized success before going on stage. And finally, overcome means successfully deal with a problem or difficulty. Example, with practice and patience, she overcame her fear of speaking English.
And Laura, thank you so much for your clear and helpful explanations today. That was really helpful. You always make these ideas feel simple and easy to understand, and I'm sure our listeners really appreciate that. And something that stood out to me is how important it is to share these feelings with others. A lot of the time, when we feel pressure or anxiety, we think we have to deal with it alone, but that's not true at all. Talking to friends, family members, or even someone you trust can make a huge difference. It reminds us that we're not alone in what we're feeling, and sometimes just expressing those thoughts out loud can already reduce the pressure.
That's such a good point, Emma. And building on that, sometimes dealing with pressure also means changing how we face challenging situations. For example, imagine a painter who usually works alone in a quiet studio. Now, if that painter starts working in a busy park surrounded by people, noise, and distractions, it might feel uncomfortable at first. The presence of others might make them nervous or even self-conscious. But over time, something interesting happens. The environment becomes normal.
Exactly. And through that process, the painter becomes more adaptable and more confident. By practicing in different environments, they learn how to stay focused no matter what's happening around them. And in the same way, when we expose ourselves to slightly stressful situations during practice, real-life situations don't feel as overwhelming anymore. We kind of train our minds to stay calm even when things aren't perfect.
And another powerful idea is learning to focus on the present moment. A lot of pressure comes from worrying about what might happen next. What if I fail? Or what if something goes wrong? But when we shift our attention to what we're doing right now, things become much clearer and more manageable. It's like taking things one step at a time.
Yes, and a great example of that is a tightrope walker. Imagine someone walking on a rope high above the ground. They can't afford to think about falling or what might go wrong. Instead, they focus completely on each step, one foot after the other. That focus is what helps them keep their balance. And we can apply the same idea in our own lives by staying present and letting go of unnecessary fears about the future.
That's a really powerful image, Emma. And it connects perfectly to something else we mentioned earlier, our inner voice. Sometimes the voice inside our head can be very negative. It might say things like, "What if I fail?" or "I'm not good enough." And if we listen to that voice too much, it can increase our anxiety and make it harder to perform well.
But the good news is that we can actually change that voice. We can train ourselves to speak more kindly and supportively. For example, instead of saying, "I'm going to fail," we can say, "I've prepared for this," or "I can handle this challenge." These small changes in how we talk to ourselves can make a big difference in how we feel and how we perform.
That's so true. And when we start to feel that pressure building up, even simple techniques can help. One of the easiest and most effective ones is deep breathing. Taking a few slow, deep breaths helps calm your body and gives your mind a moment to reset. It's like pressing a pause button in a stressful situation.
Yes, and I love how you described it earlier. It really is like a wave washing over you and carrying away the stress. When you breathe deeply, you create space between you and the pressure, and that space helps you think more clearly.
Another helpful technique is visualization. This means imagining yourself succeeding before the moment actually happens. Many athletes use this method. For example, a runner might imagine themselves crossing the finish line strong and confident, and a musician might picture themselves playing perfectly on stage.
By creating these positive images in your mind, you're preparing yourself for success. You're building confidence and reducing fear at the same time. It's a simple but very powerful mental exercise.
And it's important to remember that everyone experiences pressure. Even successful people, even famous athletes have gone through moments like this. What really matters is not the pressure itself, but how we respond to it.
Exactly. When we understand that choking under pressure is a normal part of life, it becomes less scary. Instead of fighting it, we can accept it and learn how to manage it. And over time, it becomes easier to stay calm and perform better.
So let's go back to the story of the young bird. At first, it felt fear, it lost control, and it almost fell. But it didn't give up. It kept trying, and eventually it learned how to fly.
And just like that bird, we all have the ability to overcome our fears. We might struggle at first, and that's completely okay. What matters is that we keep going, keep practicing, and keep believing in ourselves.
So the next time you feel pressure building up, remember this. Take a deep breath, be kind to yourself, and trust your preparation.
And don't forget, it's okay to feel nervous. It's part of the process. With time, patience, and practice, you'll grow stronger and more confident.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope you enjoyed learning how to stay calm under pressure and picked up some useful ideas and expressions along the way.
Yes, and if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and keep listening. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become. We're here every week to support you on your English learning journey. And remember, learning a language takes time, so be patient with yourself and enjoy the process. Every small step you take is progress.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you in the next episode.